Recorded.
Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. What I'd like to do is if I could ask you all to mute your telephones if you're online here. If you could mute your telephones until you have a question, because right now I'm getting some feedback when I speak, and that's primarily because people are still live. Their telephones are live. So I guess I would ask that you all mute your telephones right now, just so you can hear me. And if you do have questions as we go along, then I will certainly be glad to entertain those questions on mute before we ask the question. Does anyone have any questions right now before we begin? It's up to you. You don't need to if you don't. All right. So what we're going to do is we're going to start off, well, first of all, welcome to the Train the Trainer for the Fire Officer 1 course. As you can see on the slide, on the first slide here, the textbook that we are using for this course, we are sticking with Jones and Bartlett for the course itself. But the edition of the Jones and Bartlett book is called the Fire Officer Principles and Practices. It's the third edition. And it's either going to be the third edition or the third edition enhanced. Now, when a textbook says enhanced through Jones and Bartlett, all that means is that they have additional online content for the students and the instructor. So each of the books that comes with the enhanced has a code that can be redeemed through Jones and Bartlett, and they have additional self-help tools for the students, but as well as information for the instructor to set up a course through their online resource center. And I'll talk about that in a little bit. But thank you for joining us today and going through this stuff here, so we'll get started. I do want to talk about the curriculum. We've been working on this course over about the last year here, trying to prepare. As many of you are aware, we do have to update our courses every 5 years, which is the same cycle as the NFPA standard being updated. So NFPA 1041 was updated back in 2014, and so we are updating to that particular version or that edition of the NFPA standard. The curriculum committee members that participated in this, in creating this course, we've got Chief Aaron Harris, Chief of Middleton Fire Department, which is a combination department here near Madison. We've got Chief Bob Stedman, who is the Chief of South Shore Fire Department, which is a career department. We've got retired Chief Ted Harris, retired Chief from Viroqua Fire Department, which is a volunteer department. We have Battalion Chief Shannon Young from Appleton Fire Department, career department, and then Battalion Chief Matt Herder from Kenosha Fire Department, another career department. So I want to thank those members for their work in helping put this course together, as well as the certification testing. And actually in the room today with me, I've got Chief Stedman, and both Chief Harrises are with me here as well. So if you hear me whispering to someone, you'll know who I'm talking to. So to get started, some of the things that we're changing, the major changes to this course. Many of you are experienced in teaching this course over the years and are familiar with it. Some of you are brand new, but I'll let you know what the changes are. First of all, we have reduced the hours for this course. It used to be a 60-hour course. We have reduced that time down to 40 hours, and that basically is 30 hours of lecture, and then there is 10 hours built in for exercises, enhancements, which we'll talk about, and any guest speakers that you may want to bring in to help enhance the class as well. So there is a reduction of hours. The textbook that we're using, that's what their curriculum was based off of. We made the decision to reduce those hours down to 40 hours. Now, with that, there used to be an entry-level fire officer course that we had, which was a 30-hour course. We've made the decision that since we've reduced the certification course from 60 to 40, we are eliminating the entry-level fire officer course And so you understand that it's an increase of 10 hours for those departments that decided to take the entry level, which were primarily volunteer. So it is an increase of 10 hours, but we weighed the balance of the information that's being provided in the certification course only being 40 hours. We want to try to bring the level of fire officer or the level of training to be the same for both the volunteer and the career side as well. So that's why we made the decision to eliminate the entry-level fire officer. Now, these course changes basically go into effect after this Train the Trainer. It is going to be started for the summer session, which is the beginning of the 2016-2017 school year. The summer session starts that fiscal year. So any classes that will begin at the end of this month or beginning of June will be using these new materials. The Fire Officer 2 course. We had hoped to have that course updated as of right now as well, but we are a little bit behind on that update. So we are continuing to work. In fact, we're meeting next Monday again to try to finalize some things. So the Fire Officer 2 course is going to be starting in the fall semester. So any Fire Officer 2 course that is going to be started between now and the end of August will still be using the old materials. Currently, that course is a 30-hour course, but when we update it and implement the new material, it is going to be increased to a 40-hour course. So it's going to be both the Fire Officer 1 and the Fire Officer 2 courses. Once this is done, it is going to be 40 hours. Could I ask you all to mute your telephones, please? We've got some chatter in the background, so if you have not muted your telephone, please do so. With the change for the Fire Officer 1 course, we have added some additional practical exam stations. So we are going to cover that today as well. We'll go over the examination preview, which is available to everyone, and so you as an instructor or as an evaluator will understand how the new practical exam is going to work. The next change that we have for this course is we used to have a job shadow requirement. We essentially are requiring the same thing, but we've changed the name to Mentoring Project. And the reason we changed the name to Mentoring Project is because that is kind of the direction that a lot of departments are going to now, creating mentoring programs within their own departments. So we want to kind of shadow that concept. So there are some changes to the former job shadow, now the Mentoring Project, but I'll go through that when we get down to that area. The current courses, Fire Officer 1 and 2, currently are not part of our IFSAC accredited certifications. But once we are done with the Fire Officer 2 course, I will be submitting both the Fire Officer 1 and the Fire Officer 2 courses to IFSAC for accreditation consideration. And I'm confident that we've created the course and our testing process to follow all the IFSAC rules. So we are going. I am very confident that once we submit it, we'll be accredited. So anyone that finishes this course, starting now, if you start a course now, and the student completes it, and they go through the certification process, and they are successful, they get certified. The certificate that they get may not have the seal on as of yet, but we will be keeping track of anybody that becomes certified from this point on through this new program. And we will, once we get the accreditation, we will issue out those seals or the certificate with the seals to those personnel. Now keep in mind, anybody that is currently in the course or is just finishing the course or is going to be testing here in the next month, they will be going through the old course and the old testing. Those certifications will not receive the IFSAC accreditation. The IFSAC accreditation will only begin once we become accredited and with this new course. So I hope you all understand that there is going to be a difference there. Now, just like fire inspector that happened last fall, the same situation is going to apply with fire officer. If you yourself are certified as a fire officer, but you don't have that IFSAC seal and you would like that seal, the only way that you can attain that seal is that you would have to challenge the current written exam, and if you pass with a 70% or higher, then you would be eligible to receive a new certificate with the IFSAC seal. If you would happen to fail that one-time challenge, then you would have to take the whole course over again in order to get that IFSAC accreditation. So there is a difference there between those non-accredited and the accredited courses once we do become accredited with IFSAC. There is going to be a portfolio that's going to be required, that the students are going to be required to complete, and basically it's all done through the class, and we'll kind of go over that. But the portfolio is going to be required for course completion, not just for certification, but for course completion as well. So if somebody is taking that course and they don't want to become certified, they just want to take the course, they're still going to have that portfolio complete, and we'll go over all the details of what's inside that portfolio. Those that do want to move on to certification will then bring that portfolio to the practical exam site, and they will be using the forms and the documents that are in that portfolio for some of the exam stations. We have also added two additional prerequisites in order to become, for course completion, as well as for certification. We are requiring 2 online courses to be completed. One course is called Why Data, and that is an online course that basically covers electronic reporting of fire incidents, basically the NIFRs. So, and the importance of NIFRs, how to complete NIFRs, why we do NIFRs, that type of thing. So we felt it was important for officers to have an understanding of why we do incident reporting. So that is going to be one of the online course completions that's going to be required. The second is the National Fallen Firefighters Foundation's Leadership, Accountability, Culture, and Knowledge course, also called the LAC course. Both of these courses, I think the Why Data course takes about an hour to complete. The LAC course, I think, takes about 4 hours to complete. You can get it done in less time, but it's set up as a 4-hour course. So in the implementation guide, as well as the student preparation guide, which we'll be going over here, you will have the web link for these 2 online courses. And this is going to be just like we currently do in Firefighter 1 and Firefighter 2. We have a requirement of NIMS 100 and 700 that they have to complete online, and then submit. They print off a certificate off the website. They submit that to the instructor. The instructor signs off on the state summary form. So this is going to follow that same procedure. The students are going to have to complete these courses online, download, print off the certificate of completion, hand that over to you, and you will have to sign off on their state summary form that they completed it, and that's the prerequisite. They will not be able to test certification exam until these prerequisites are completed. So please make note of this, and again, all of this information is going to be in the implementation guide. Those of you that have taught this in the past understand that we did not have an implementation guide in the past or a student preparation guide in the past for this course. I'm happy to tell you that we have created those, so there is going to be an implementation, student preparation guide, and an exam preview available to all instructors and all students. So I would ask that you all take advantage of those documents, read through them very carefully, understand what's expected of you as an instructor, understand what's expected of the students, and you'll have all the resources that you need at the tip of your fingers using these guides. All right, let's talk about the portfolio first of all. The portfolio, as I mentioned, is going to be made up of several different documents that are going to be completed throughout the course. So within these lessons, depending upon the topic, if you're talking about budgets, then there's going to be a budget request form that's going to have to be completed by the students. There's a document. This document that you see on here is actually going to be in both the implementation guide and the student preparation guide in the appendix, so you can, so it's easily available to anybody to print off and use. What we are asking you as an instructor to do is to make sure that this document is printed off, attached to the portfolio of your students, and when each of these items have been completed by the student and you have reviewed them and they put it into, you can sign off with your initials that you have, that the student has completed it, you've reviewed it for correctness and the appropriateness of the completion, and it's going to be put into their portfolio. And at the end of the course, then you will have to just basically, as the instructor, make sure that they have had everything signed off and with their initials, and then sign that document. And then when they arrive at the practical exam stations or the practical exam site, you'll be able to take a quick review, make sure that they have everything in that portfolio and they're ready to go for testing. So, if you look at the list of portfolio requirements, they're going to be required to complete a budget request form. So, in the lesson, where you talk about budgets, they're going to have to come up with an idea that they would like to see their department purchase or improve upon or whatever. And so they're going to have to get all the details of what they want to suggest, why they want it, justification, what the cost is going to be, et cetera, et cetera. There is going to be there is a template budget request form that's going to be in the appendix of all of our documents, so the students can use that, or if they have their own budget request form in their department, they would prefer that they use that. Not all departments have that type of a form, so we have provided a template that can be used, but either way. So they're going to have to complete that with all the justification, and then they will be asked to present their justification to the evaluators during this test station, and we'll go over that a little bit later. The second item is a department policy change recommendation. So what you're going to be asking the students to do is to find a policy in their department, or if the department doesn't have any policies, procedures written up, and they should create one for an area that they don't currently have one in. So essentially what they're going to be doing is they're going to be bringing in a form that basically lists the policy that they would like to see changed, what the current policy is, how they would like to see the policy changed, et cetera, and then they will be asked questions about that in the test station. The next item is a departmental organizational chart and a mission statement. Now, not all departments have one or the other or both, and if they don't, then the student is going to have to create one. So what we want to see in this portfolio is an organizational chart, identifying all, basically the command structure, your chief, deputies, battalions, however it's all worked, falls under who, and the students are going to have to be aware of what those job responsibilities entail. So it's not just a matter of printing off their org chart and bringing it in. They're going to have to know exactly what their deputy chief is responsible for, what their battalion chiefs are responsible for, what their captains, lieutenants, etc., what their job duties are, what they're responsible for. And then a mission statement. If the department doesn't have a mission statement, then we would like to have the students create a mission statement for their department. So that can be done as an exercise in that particular lesson, or however you want to do it. But that's going to have to be inside the portfolio as well. The next item is a completed NIFRS report. Now, we understand that every department is different as far as how they report your incident reports. Some are on Firehouse, some are on Image Trend, whatever. It doesn't really matter. Not all of them are going to print out exactly the same, but what we want them to do is to take a report, and they can create a training one if they like, or if they want to bring an actual report. There is no protected information on those reports. They'll need to print it out, put it in their portfolio, and then they're going to have to be prepared to explain to the evaluators what the most important items need to be filled out in the incident report. what areas need to be filled out, where they can find the information in order to fill the forms out, et cetera, et cetera. So that's why we are requiring the Y Data online course for them to view that and to complete that, to give them a good background on all of this, and they'll be prepared to answer the questions at the evaluation. The next item is a pre-incident planning report. So they are going to have to choose something, a building, a type of construction that's listed in the exam handbook, and we'll show you that. And they're going to have to do a pre-incident plan. They'll have to do an incident plan, complete it, and again, they can use their own department's pre-incident planning report, or we have provided a template in the appendix of all the documents that we have, so they can use that as well. The next item is the vehicle accident investigation report and near-miss report. One of the requirements in one of the lessons is that they are going to have to research nearmiss.com and find a near-miss report that's on that website that has to deal with a vehicle accident. And what they want to do, and if you've never been to this website before, you're going to have to get into it. You're going to have to understand exactly what's there, how it's all laid out, what it does. It's a very good website that provides all kinds of near misses from around the country, basically for fire departments to learn from. So we're trying to get future officers exposed to that website, that concept. So they're going to have to find a near-miss report that happens somewhere around the country, and that's got all the details regarding the vehicle accident. And then they're going to have to fill out the vehicle accident investigation report. And again, they can use their own departments if they have one. If they don't, then there is a template, again, in the appendix that they can use. They're going to have to draw a diagram. They're going to have to get all kinds of information. And then they're going to have to be prepared to answer questions at the evaluation that basically ask questions about that particular incident. So both the investigation report and the near-miss report associated with it need to be placed into the portfolio. The mentoring project. The mentoring project is going to be completed. We'll be talking about that in a little bit, but they are going to have to write a 3-page paper that has to deal with the mentoring project, what they got out of the mentoring project. They're also going to have to choose one of the JPRs, one of the job performance requirements, that is in that particular, I'm sorry, we just had a technical difficulty here in this room here, so we're trying to deal with that. So I lost my train of thought. They're writing a 3-page paper about their project as well as one of the JPRs, and I'll go into a little bit more detail on that in a little bit. And then there is a checkoff for the LAC online course and the Y Data online course. So you need to view the completion certificate to verify that they completed that course. Sign off on it using your initials, and then at the bottom again, print your name, and then there's going to be a signature. That signature line is actually bigger than that. It just didn't come out very well on this particular slide. Are there any questions so far to this point? Don't forget to unmute if you have to ask a question. All right, we'll move on. Instructor preparation. As an instructor of this course, you are going to have to do some instruction. I did want to mention, looking at that portfolio, it seems like a lot of stuff, and you're right, it is. But we've also reduced this course, so we are putting a lot of burden on the students themselves to do some outside research, outside work. This is not going to be just a breeze to get through this class. They're going to have to put some effort into this class. They're going to be face-to-face less time, but they've got to do some work on their own. So that's the way it's going to be. All right, so instructor preparation. As an instructor, you are going to have to look at all the PowerPoints and the lesson plans, and all of those are going to be available through the Instructor Resource website. Now, hopefully all of you have been to this website before, but if not, then there is the link. Obviously, you can't click on it right now, but I can. Let me show you what it looks like. That link will bring you to our fire service training website, and you'll see that you've got the choice of WTCS Fire Service Instructor Resources. That is not password protected. It's open to you as an instructor. You can go in there at any time. When you click on that link, it's going to bring you to all of our curriculum, all of our lesson plans, everything that we have for all of our courses. So when you go to this link, if you scroll down, you will see Fire Officer 1, but that is the current course. The new course is down here where it says New Fire Officer 1. So when you click on the New Fire Officer 1 link, it's going to bring you to all the materials that you need. So as you can see, lesson plans. So when you click on this, we've got 19 lessons in this course. You click on those, it brings you to the lesson plan itself. So you can download it. There's a download link over here. You just basically click on the download. You can download every one of them. You can print it off, put it in a folder or whatever binder, whatever you want to do. If you want to do it just straight from offline, that's totally up to you, but I wouldn't recommend that. This is where you're getting all the materials. You're no longer passing out the instructor resource discs, basically because there may have been some changes to some of the curriculum for the PowerPoints, and so this is where you're going to get all of the main material or all the most relevant material that we have put out. Those are the lesson plans. The same thing if you click on the PowerPoint, that's going to bring you up to 19 different PowerPoint presentations. So once we're done here, I would encourage you, if you have not already done so, to go and review it all, take a look at it, download it all, so you've got it all on your computer. You can also see the other information that we have, which is the Certification Preparation Guide. That is for the students. But I would ask that you also, as an instructor, review it just so you know exactly how it works, what it looks like, et cetera, and I'll go through those documents in a bit. It has an exam preview. So what this exam preview is basically it's our practical exam. We never used to provide this to students before, but there is no reason for, we're not trying to surprise students when they come to our practical exams. We want them to know exactly what they're going to be tested on, what the test is, what the grading criteria is, so they can help study for that exam, and you can also understand what is being tested, so you can kind of stress some main key points as you're going through the lessons. We'll go through that document in a bit. This is the implementation guide, Fire Officer Implementation Guide. This is the most important document for you. You need to go through this and read through it very carefully. You've got all the different information as far as what you need to do in order to present this class, what's going to be required of you as an instructor, what's going to be required of the students themselves. So I encourage you to print that off and read through it very carefully before you teach your first class. And then we have our mentoring project document. And again, this document explains the mentoring project to both the student as well as the mentor that they choose. And we'll go over that document in just a bit as well. So we'll go back to the presentation. That's where all the resources are. And what I would suggest to you that you can print all of this stuff off right now today. But I can tell you that probably by the end of the semester, many of you are going to have some questions, some comments, some suggestions about the documents that we have or the lesson plans, and we may possibly make some changes based on your feedback if we feel that it's some valuable information that we can make some changes to. So the next time that you teach, I guess I would take a look at. You go back to Instructor Resource website, you'll see when it was updated. Oh, no, here it is. You can see when it was updated. So right now it says these lesson plans were updated a week ago. We just updated our preparation guide this morning, so we did make some changes. So it was updated 2 hours ago. So if you start teaching this course again in the fall semester or the spring semester next year, I would recommend that you go back here and see exactly when it was updated, so you have the most current information. when we make changes from now on to this course or to this information, when we do make changes, we will also, on the back sheet of the preparation guide or the implementation guide or wherever, we will type in what changes were made. So you can take a look at the back sheet or the back cover, and it will have a list of any changes made that have been made in the last year. After a year, we will take that off. So as it gets changed, we'll move the old stuff off. All right. Jones and Bartlett has a tremendous amount of online content, and they have for the last couple of years. And we've been trying to encourage you all to try to look at the online content that they have and use it. A lot of it is free. You have the ability as an instructor to set up your own class on their Navigate to website or resource site, and you can actually assign quizzes or assign assignments or communicate with your students via this website. This is not saying that this turns it into an online course. That's not what this is about. It's basically about keeping track of scores, keeping track of assignments. It also provides resources to the students to help them study. Now, I know it can be very intimidating to some of you if you've never done it before, but Jones and Bartlett has some full-time personnel that their only job all day long is to help instructors around the country set up these online formats for instructors and teach you how to use it. So I guess I would encourage you, since they're, when they buy the enhanced textbook, they're paying a little bit more, and that's primarily for those resources. So if we're not using it, we're kind of wasting an opportunity to engage, especially some of the younger generation who are used to using online content and online resources. So I would encourage you, take a look at it. Take a look at the textbook that you get, sign on, and call the number that's listed there for that are responsible for their Navigate system, and they'll go through it over the phone with you. They'll go through it over the computer with you. They'll get it set up for you, and you'll be able to use it from that point on. So again, I encourage you to use these resources. In this course, they are referring to Blake and Mouton managerial style. So they do have some content talking about it. This was not in the previous textbook, I believe. I don't believe it was in the previous one. So you, as an instructor, are going to have to become familiar with what the Blake and Mouton managerial style quiz is. And in the implementation guide, you will see that we have a link to a website that has a description of this managerial style, as well as a worksheet that you and the students can use to determine exactly what type of managerial style is best suited for you and for your students. So I would encourage you to start doing some research on what it is, become familiar with it, so it's not a shock to you when you get to that point in the lesson. Also, you yourself should go through the why data and the lack courses themselves. This is going to give you an opportunity to understand exactly what they're learning, so you can use it within your lessons, hit on the key points that are hit in these particular lessons. You don't certainly want them doing something that you're not even aware of yourself. So please take some time to register and actually complete the course yourself before you start teaching the course. The students' mentoring reports. These reports are a requirement for course completion, not just for certification, but for course completion as well. Now, we are going to have you, as an instructor, basically review these reports before they get put into the portfolio, and you are going to be essentially grading these mentoring reports on your end. Now, the requirements are in the implementation guide as well as the student preparation guide. As far as what they need to do, it's going to be a 3-page report, double-spaced, 12-point font, some other requirements. A couple of the JPRs that are most commonly used throughout the entire standard is the ability to communicate effectively through writing and through oral communication. So we're trying to make sure that potential fire officers are using proper English. We're not using, slang. Basically, you have a new generation, couple generations, and even us older generations are using slang and abbreviations for text messagings or emails, that type of thing. So that's not proper in a paper that's being turned in in an academic setting. So those are the types of things that we're going to be asking you as an instructor to review and make sure that they are basically writing a report that would be able to be submitted to the city council, to the fire chief, or to other people from the outside that would be reading it. So when the mentoring reports are completed, we're going to be asking you as an instructor to review it, sign off on it. If they need to correct it or they need to redo it again, then that's what you're going to have them do. But once you sign off on that student mentoring report, on that portfolio checklist, that's telling us that you have reviewed it and you feel it is complete and fulfills the requirements that are listed. Implementation guide. All right, let's look at some of the, we'll look at the implementation guide here. This is what our implementation guide looks like. I'm going to scroll through some of the preparatory material here. First of all, but the first page I want to show you here is the requirements for the course completion as well as certification. So, as you can see, to attain satisfactory completion, in order for you to sign off on the state summary report that they've completed the course, they need to participate in the class, obviously. They need to perform 100% of the assigned skills, practical activities, completing the assigned readings and homework, complete the mentoring project, including the 3-page report, as well as completing the 2 online courses. There you see the links to those courses. Those are working links as of today, and hopefully into the future, but that's where they go. So that's just to complete the course. Now, in order to become certified, we've got some other prerequisites. They have to be Firefighter 1, Firefighter 2 certified. They have to complete the Emergency Services Instructor course, which is a 40-hour course. If somebody is coming into the fire officer course just for the course itself, just for the information, they don't want to become certified, they don't have to complete the ESI. Completing the ESI is only for certification. I don't know why a student wouldn't want to become certified after sitting through 40 hours of class, but and hopefully you as an instructor would encourage them to move through the certification process. But there will be some that won't want to do it. But in order to become certified, they have to complete the ESI course. They also have to bring the portfolio with all of those documents in there to the practical exam. They have to pass the written exam using with a 70% or higher within 2 years of completing the course, as well as successful passing of the practical exam. I would encourage you all to stress to the students that they've got 2 years. That's it. 2 years from the end of the course, from the last date of the last course or last session of the class. 2 years from that date is how long they have in order to become certified. Can't tell you how many times a week we get calls from people pleading and begging because their 2 years has passed up and they don't want to take the course again. Although that's our policy, 2 years is plenty of time to get this completed, and we don't make any allowances for it. So stress to the students that they've got the 2 years and not to wait till the last minute because it might be too late for them. So, moving on to the rest of the implementation guide. As you can see, we've got all of the breakdown, basically recommended times for each of these lessons. This is recommended times. Now, you're the instructor. You're the one that's going to be adding items or guest speakers or other enhancements. to the course, and you may have to adjust accordingly. But this is just recommended times based on the textbook publisher, and what appropriate times that we feel to get through these lessons. So again, the lecture times actually ends up being about 30 hours, right? But then there's going to be additional 10 hours for those enhancements or guest speakers or anything else that you add into it. I'm not going to go through every lesson here. I'm going to give you the chance to do that on your own. But I do want to explain how the implementation is broken down. So as you can see on the screen, we've got Chapter 1. It's got the name of the chapter. We've got the estimated times that's needed for delivering this chapter. We have a chapter description. We also have the assignments, the reading assignments for the students. So these are things that you can put into your syllabus. If you provide a syllabus to your students, you can give them the reading assignments that are due for the upcoming lessons. So I would encourage you to do that. So that's all down here. It also has a listing of the knowledge objectives, and all based on the NFPA standard from 1040 or 1021. I'm sorry, 1021. All the particular JPRs that they're going to be focusing on in that particular lesson. Skills objectives. Some of the lessons will actually have in-class skills. Some of them will not have any skills at all for the lesson. You see that this very first one talks about completing the LAC course. So day one, you should be telling them that they need to complete that. It needs to be completed basically on your timeline. As long as it's completed by the end of the course, that'd be the latest. But the sooner they can get it done, the more knowledge they have. Support materials basically tells you exactly what you're going to need in order to present this material. And then we have enhancements and teaching tips. Now, these enhancements and teaching tips came with the publishers, or came from the publishers. We've also added a couple here and there as well. These are not required. These are suggestions that you can do to help enhance the course. And you'll see, a lot of it we'll see arranged for another fire officer from outside for the class to come in and kind of talk to the students about, their functioning as an officer, pros and cons of being an officer, some of the obstacles that they've had to overcome, moving from not being an officer to becoming an officer, those types of things. Those enhancements will only basically enhance the course for your students. So these are just some suggestions for you. And again, they're not required, but they're just tips for you to help improve upon the presentation of that particular lesson. So again, I'm not going to go through every lesson here, but I am going to scroll down to the appendix to show you the documents that are available to you and to the students to complete the portfolio. I'll let it catch up.
That's what they say.
There is the checklist for the portfolio checklist, so you can print that off or have the students print it off and have them attach it to their portfolio using a folder or binder or whatever. So that's what the portfolio checklist, that's where it can be found. The pre-incident planning report, this is again the template, and again if they have their own from their own department, that's fine, that's great, use that. If not, here's a 3-page pre-incident plan report with a facility or an area for them to diagram the facility that they're doing. Here's the vehicle accident investigation form. Again, a generic template for them to use. But if their department has one, we prefer that they use their own, just so they can become familiar with it.
Some would say, I don't know.
I still have some of you that have not muted your telephone. If you can mute your telephone, I'd appreciate it. Here's your department budget request form. Again, if they have their own request form for the departments, that's great. But you can see the items that they're going to be talking about, the items requested, what the cost would be, a justification, and other information that they're going to need to help convince the powers that be that they should look at purchasing the item. There's also a post-incident analysis form here. This is not part of the portfolio. This is going to be used in one of the stations, in Station 5, for after they do their their emergency operations exam, they are going to be asked to conduct a post-incident analysis of that particular incident. So what they're going to be doing is they're going to be handed this form here, and we're not going to have them actually write it out in shorthand while they're sitting there. But essentially what they're going to be doing is they're going to be looking at all these items, and they're going to have to explain to you as an evaluator or to the evaluator, excuse me, what that emergency was all about. So they'll have to describe the occupancy conditions on arrival and what actions were taken. They'll have to describe the effectiveness of the operation, special considerations they had, et cetera, et cetera. So essentially this checklist or this analysis form is kind of the questions, the questionnaire for them to conduct that particular station. 5A2 is what it's called. So they're going to have to explain to you what they just did, what they had just completed. So again, this post-incident analysis form is not going to be in the appendix, but it is going to be handed to them at the practical exam and used as a checklist. So that's all the items that are in the appendix of the implementation guide. So again, take some time to download this, print it off, take some time to look through it as an instructor. You need to look at this because that's where everything is coming from. All right, let's talk about the student preparation guide. And again, this was not available to them in the past, so this is going to be new, and this can be accessed on the website under the certification. Actually, it's not going to be under instructor resources. It's just going to be under fire certification. If you go to our website, and again, this website is open to anybody. But if they go to Wisconsin Fire Certification, if you look down through the listing here, you'll see preparation guides. If you click on preparation guides, there's a preparation guide for every single course that we offer for our certification courses here. Fire 1, Fire 2, Driver, Operator, Inspector, and we do not have it up. We will put that up today for the Fire Officer 1 Student Preparation Guide. So your students can go to this website, and that's where they're going to find that preparation guide. And again, we are asking you to encourage and to make sure you let them know. We have found throughout the years that there are a lot of students, in fact, there was a lot of instructors that had no idea that these student certification preparation guides were available. And there's a lot of very good information here that will help your students prepare for both the written exam and the practical exam. So if we go to those exams, we go to that document, this is the student certification preparation guide. And again, I'll scroll through all the preparatory stuff. It explains the written exam, what's required of them for the written exam, talks about how many times they get to retest. They got the 2 years, it's a 90-minute test, multiple choice, true, false, etc. And then it has the explanation of what they need to do in order to take part in a practical skills examination as well. It also has some information here about what's required of them in order to become eligible to become certified. So again, the 2 online courses, so it has the web link for them, so they can find the web link so they can go and complete those online courses, as well as talking about the portfolio. So there is absolutely no reason why, if you as an instructor have explained to them the portfolio requirements, and it's here, it's right here in that preparation guide, so there's no reason for any student to arrive anywhere and say, well, I didn't know. It's all there for them. Now, the best part about this preparation guide is that it gives them some study hints as far as where to find the information on the stuff that they're going to be tested on. Now, the written exam is going to be 100 questions, so it's just like it has always been. They're going to need a 70% or higher to do it. But all of those questions relate to the job performance requirements, or the JPRs, out of 1021. So what we have done here is that this has a listing of every single JPR and where they can find it. So as you can see, assign tasks or responsibilities. That's one of the responsibilities of an officer, is to assign tasks. They can find information about that JPR in chapters 4, 5, 7, 16, and 17, and we actually give them the page numbers. So when they're preparing for the written exam, they can go to this document here, the preparation guide, and they can start studying those areas there. All right? Now, hopefully they have read the book sometime before this, and they're not just using this just to, to find the information, because there could be the same information or additional information somewhere else in the book as well, but these are the primary chapters, the primary areas that they will find information regarding those JPRs. So that's all listed for them. Then when you get to the appendix, there are some sample questions. We don't have these are just general sample questions that give them an idea of how the questions are worded. Now these don't have anything to do with a fire officer. We're just using the generic. I thought we were going to. So these are just generic questions, just giving them an idea of what the test questions look like. Now here's the summary. The next page is the summary of the practical skills test. Now, as I mentioned, we have increased the size of the test, and the main reason is that because the fire officer test previously was not ISAC accredited, it was not validated to every single JPR in 1021. But because we are submitting this for accreditation, we had to make sure that we had tests that tested every single skill that's required, skill JPR that's required out of 1021. So we do have some of the same tests that we're currently using are still in here, but we have added some additional stations. So these are what the stations are. And again, this is available to the students. So they will know, they have an idea of what they're getting into. So there are going to be six test stations. The first test has to deal with human resources management. The first exam possibility is a training evolution. And what that evolution is basically they are going to be expected to be able to prepare and to deliver a training to their company officers. Now, one thing that I will tell you is that the training evolution, when you look into the exam preview in a little bit, you will see that we've allowed 1 hour time limit for this training evolution. However, because taking the course, the ESI course, the instructor course, is one of the requirements for certification, we feel that this particular lesson or this particular skill is tested during that course. We all know, you've all been through the ESI course or the instructor course or the EdMeth course in previous, you all know that you all had to stand up and give anywhere between 5, 6, and 10 presentations in that course. So we feel that because of all of those, the ability for them to do all of that this particular skill is already being tested in that course. So I can tell you that this particular station will very, very rarely ever be used, if at all. But we have to have it, and we do have basically the guidelines and everything for that, but you don't have an hour to test every single student. So that's one of the reasons why you probably won't see this at the exam, but it is in place there. Now, the other ones are going to be tested. The member-related problem, we currently have an exam in our current exam that does the same thing. We give the students a member-related problem, such as alcohol, the smell of alcohol on somebody coming in on duty or arriving on scene, someone that has excessive tardiness, those types of things. We're going to give the students a problem, and they're going to have to come up with a way to address the problem. So that's 1B. And then 1C is crew management. Crew management is basically they're going to be given a task list, a list of tasks that need to be completed throughout the day, and they are going to have to prioritize those tasks, and then they're going to have to give directions, and they're going to treat the evaluators like they are their company members, and they are going to assign these tasks and explain what needs to be accomplished, with time frames, that type of thing. All right? And as we look through some of this stuff, we'll see that just like in our Firefighter 1, Firefighter 2, we don't put some of the information that's actually used at the test site. We don't put that in the exam preview. and you as an instructor are not going to see it as well, because we need to keep that protected so we don't have students that are preparing their narrative before they even get to the station. So we don't want them to see exactly all the different details that we will ask them to do until they get to the station. So, and I'll show you exactly what I mean as we go through here. So test 1, they'll be testing on one of those, not all of them, just one of them. And it will be decided at the exam which one. So as a student, they need to be prepared to do any of those particular tests. The second test is community and government relations field. Community need, the evaluator will give the student a community need, something that, like a civilian, asking them, someone in the community would like to see something done or provided for them, and the student is going to have to explain exactly what they would do with that request, how they would be able to process that request and complete it, and if they can actually grant that request or not. The second possible item is a citizen concern. If a citizen comes up and says to you as a company officer, to the student as a company officer, hey, I saw your firefighters in a bar in uniform having a beer. What is that company officer going to do? What kind of information do they need to gather? What kind of investigation is going to have to take place? Who needs to be contacted about this information, and what needs to be done? So that's kind of a new station. And then a hazardous materials incident oil spill is basically kind of an incident command, or what's going to be done there. So that's a new one as well. But you'll take some time to look through and read through, and you'll have the ability to read through exactly what's expected at each of these stations. So again, test 2, they will be tested on one of them, not all of them. It'll just be one. Test 3 is an administration. There are 4 options there. The policy change, as I mentioned, the portfolio is going to, they have to bring in a policy that they would like to see changed or updated in their department. So they should have that in there, and that's, the evaluators will ask them questions about how they would go about justifying the change or implementing the change. Records management, that's where the NIFRS report in the portfolio is going to come into play, so they'll have that available to them, and if that's chosen, they're going to have to explain all of that. The budget request, same thing, in the portfolio. They will be asked questions about the budget request that they brought in, as far as how they came about their figures and how they will justify it and how they'll get it moved forward. And then the organizational structure test is the mission statement and the organizational chart. So test 3, every one of those options has to deal with something that's in their portfolio. That's why it's important for you as an instructor to make sure that they have the information and that that the information is valid and correct before they get to the station or before they get to the practical exam. So it's not a big cluster when they get there. So that's test 3 again, just being tested on one of them, not all 4. Test 4, inspection and investigation. The same thing here, fire inspections. They are going to be given a list of the 11 different occupancy types that are listed in the JPR, and they will have to explain 3 different items that they will have to inspect for in 2 of those different occupancies. So the evaluator will basically say, all right, I'm going to give you, a public congregation or public area or, a storage warehouse or that type of thing. What are 3 items that you're going to have to check when you do an inspection in that particular building? Pre-incident planning, that's going to be one of the completed items that they're going to have in their portfolio. And again, they will be asked questions about what's being done in that incident planning. The third option there is securing an incident scene, and that's a matter of actually using not crime tape, but do not cross scene tape, the scene yellow tape, and securing an incident scene, as well as answer questions about who is allowed inside that sealed off area, who determines that type of thing. So there's several different questions there. So again, they have to be prepared to do any one of those 3 options, but they're just going to be chosen, just have one that's chosen there. Now, when we get to test number 5, emergency operations, This is going to be the exact same test that we are currently using for our current emergency operations. We're using the same DVD that has the animations or the information, the video that's on the DVD. They will make determinations as far as first-in reports, radio reports, assigning their personnel, et cetera, et cetera. So the exact same current test that we have right now is going to be used in the new test. So there's no change there, except that one of the options that's currently on that DVD we're not going to use. We're not going to no longer use the two-story hotel. I think that's what it was, two-story hotel, right? So we are not going to use that particular one. It was felt that we had some feedback from several different ones that it wasn't appropriate. It really wasn't an appropriate scenario. So that's been taken out. Now for test 5, they're going to be doing that emergency operations, but they will also be doing the second part. So that's why it's listed as 5A1 and 5A2. So again, as I explained previously, they will have to do the emergency operation, and then they will have to do the post-incident analysis afterwards on that particular scenario that they had just completed. So there's a two-parter for that particular exam. And then test 6, the last one is health and safety. That's where the accident investigation comes in, and again, they will have to have the accident investigation report completed along with the appropriate near-miss report that they found the information from. So they'll have to bring that forward, and they'll have to answer questions about that accident. The wellness and safety option is basically the students need to be prepared to explain why it's important to be both physically fit and mentally fit in order to do our job. So there is a health and safety section in the lesson, so you'll be going over information there. So again, being knowledgeable in that area is going to be important for them to prepare themselves for this exam. So, and as you can see on the statement there, that all the tests are individual tests. There are no group tests. All right, there's no team tests. So they're all going to be individually evaluated in all of these stations. Now, the way the exam is going to work is that there's only going to be 2 rooms. Well, depending upon the coordinators and the size of the exam, they may duplicate some of these here. But in one room, we will have 2 evaluators, and one room will be evaluating tests 1 through 4, and then the second room will be 2 evaluators who will be testing test number 5 and 6. So when a student goes in, they're going to go into one room and they're going to be tested on 4 different exams in one sitting. They're not going to do test 1, walk out, come back in, do test 2 later, et cetera, et cetera. They're going to come in, sit down with those 2 evaluators, and they will be tested on test 1. Then they will move on to test 2, test 3, test 4. Then they will move on to the next room that has the emergency operations, because it is kind of a different setup. You're dealing with a DVD player and a projector, that type of thing. And they will be tested on 5A1, 5A2, and then they will be tested on test number 6. So that's how the evaluation is going to run at the actual scenes. Like I said, if a coordinator has quite a few students, they may decide to add an additional room to do one of those sections as well. The grading schedule is going to be the same as we have in our Firefighter 1, Firefighter 2, and Driver Operator courses. We have critical ratings, we have major ratings, and then we have general ratings. And again, if you have not done this before, if you have not been an evaluator at our exams that use these checklists, then I encourage you to read through this so you are well aware of what the expectation is and how it works. If a student does not hit one of the sections that is marked as critical, that's a critical failure. If they miss it, then they failed that exam. That's one time. If it's a major item that's marked as a major, they can miss only 2. Actually, they can only miss 1, because if they miss the second one, then that's a failure as well. General items, anything that's not marked as a critical or major, then they can't miss more than 3. If they miss 3 of those, then they have a failure. So you can read that grading schedule, and then you'll see when we get into the actual exams, how that works. Now, and again, this is in the certification preparation guide for the students. So all of this information is in this prep guide, but this same information that we're going to be looking at right now is also in the test preview or the exam preview that's listed on the instructor resource website. So you can look at this same information. So as you can see on this particular test, we've got a description of what the evolution is. It's got the JPRs that are being tested for this particular test, as well as you can see the textbook that we're gathering the information from. Then you have the directions to the candidate. So you can see the candidate will direct unit members during a training evolution, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And then here is the grading criteria. So as you can see, this is a critical. So gives understandable verbal directions. So this particular lesson or this particular skill is basically providing a training scenario to their company members. So if you're evaluating this, and again, this is the one that we're very rarely going to see, if at all, but just to kind of give you an idea how it works, they would have to give understandable verbal directions. If you can't understand, if you are acting as a student or a company member that's being taught, and they don't do a good enough job to get the information across to you, then that would be a failure. That's a critical point there. Follows policies and procedures, that's a general item, but ensures the evolution is performed in a safe and efficient manner. Well, safety is the number one, so that's a critical as well. And then successfully completes the training evolution is a general. So obviously they don't have three that they can miss that would cause them to fail just by generals, but there are some with the critical failures. Now the last one down here, completed the task within the listed time limits with no safety violations. That's kind of the standard statement that we have in all of our levels of testing, and this is for if there is something that's not on the checklist, but is kind of an important aspect of that particular skill, and they miss it, then that can be used as the failure for that student. Now, keep in mind, you know, this. I heard somebody say when we implemented this particular statement as a critical failure, I heard somebody say, well, that's kind of our get out of jail free. If I don't like the way a student is doing something, that I can just use that as their failure. Well, that's true, but if you're going to use that, you are going to have to justify that to the state rep at the exam site as to why you use that. We're not going to just have you just say, yep, they failed because I didn't think it was safe enough or whatever. You're going to have to justify why you use that particular element to fail them, all right? I'm not going to go through each of these stations here, but I will kind of show you some of the things I was mentioning. The member-related problem, the directions to the candidate will have the information. You know, they're going to be given a list of, or they're going to get one member problem, and in the actual exam administration handbook that you will not have access to unless you're an evaluator, then it will be printed off for you. Underneath the directions of the candidate will be a list of those recommended member-related problems that you can give to the student. So again, this is going to the students, but we do have some protected information, and this is one of those stations that we have not included it in the exam preview, so that both you as an instructor and the student are not aware of them. So it helps prevent people just teaching directly to those particular narratives. Let's see, crew management, the same thing. The equipment needed, the task list for the candidate is going to be needed to be provided to the candidates. And again, that's not going to be listed here in the exam preview or the certification prep guide, but it will be provided by the coordinator on the day of the exam, and that will have that list of tasks that need to be prioritized and divvied out to their crews. So, I'm going to let you take a look through here. I'm not going to waste your time going through each of these stations. I just want you to be aware that all of this information is available to the students and to you as an instructor. So please make sure that you take some time to review all of this stuff so you have an idea what's going to be expected of them at the practical exam, and you have an idea of and the students will have an idea of what they're being evaluated on. I'm going to cruise all the way down to the end, appendix again, and again, this is the student preparation guide, so again, they have access to the same items here, the same forms that are available for them to download and to print off to use for their portfolio. So there's the checklist, there's a pre-incident plan report, there's the investigation report, et cetera, et cetera. So the same thing that I went through with you in the implementation guide is in the student preparation guide as well. Let me go through one more thing, the exam preview. The exam preview, again, this is available to you on the instructor resource site, and it's the exact same thing that we just went through in the student preparation guide. It has a listing of all the exams, the grading criteria, and then those same checklists, those same worksheets that are going to be used at the exam. So I just wanted to point that out to you. The mentoring project. Here's the document for the mentoring project. There is a letter basically for the mentor, whoever is chosen as a mentor, and basically kind of giving the concept of the mentoring project, what we're expecting from them, or what we are asking them to do with the student. And then there's directions to the student. They're going to have to choose someone within their own department, and if they can't do that, maybe somebody at a neighboring department if they can do that. We understand that it's very difficult. The biggest change between the job shadow that we had previously and this mentoring project is that we understand how difficult it is to get all of the JPRs covered in a mentoring or job shadow format. And we recognize and understand why there was some pencil whipping going on with some of these JPRs, because we know for a fact that many of the students probably did not actually have a chance to run an emergency scene, basically because of lack of possibility of calls in their departments, or you're going to have chief officers that just won't put someone that's not trained in that position. So we are recognizing that not every single JPR is going to be accomplished during this mentoring project, but we are asking them to try to get as many as possible completed. So if you look through this document, you will see that we've got the mentoring checklist. It has each of the JPRs and what the JPR is, and we are asking the mentors to work with the students either by actually allowing them to do this on an emergency scene or a non-emergency scene, or to sit down and do a tabletop and discuss the JPRs and sign off the date, the mentor name, and the mentor's signature with signing off that, yes, I did sit down. I either had them actually do it on a scene, or had a tabletop and sign off. So we are not going to require that every single JPR is signed off by the mentor. All right, we're being realistic about this. It's not possible in a lot of different areas, but we want them to get done as much of it as possible. So take a look at that mentoring document. The paper itself, the requirements for the paper here, you'll see the report must be completed in a PDF or Word document using a 12-point font, 1-inch margins, double-space, with correct spelling, grammar, and punctuation. So those are the key elements that you, as the instructor, are going to be looking for when you're when you're reviewing their mentor reports that is required for completion of the course, as well as completion of their certification. So all the information is here. The paper is going to be written about the mentoring project, but they are also going to choose one JPR, and that's right here. The student shall write a 3-page report on the mentoring experience and on one JPR of their choosing from the 23 that are listed below. So it's going to be a combination combination of what their mentoring project, how it worked for them, what they got out of it, and then they're going to have to choose one of these JPRs and kind of write some details as far as, what the JPR means, what it addresses, why they feel it is important, or why they feel it was added to the NFPA standard. We all know that job performance requirements, just kind of like in NFPA 1, every single rule in NFPA 1 was a result of a tragedy or an accident or something that occurred. So the same thing with JPRs in all the NFPA standards. They're there for a reason, because it's either an important element of the job duties or something that had occurred in the past that they've addressed. So that's what we're looking for in the paper, is 3 pages on the mentoring experience and then 1 of the JPRs that they're going to have to explain. So that's the mentoring project. All right, coming back to the PowerPoint. And again, the student preparation guide, again, please stress to them to get that, to get access to that preparation guide, to download it, to read it, use it. Use it to help them prepare for both the written and the practical exams. Guest speakers, we highly encourage you to try to arrange guest speakers or subject matter experts. When you start getting into the legal aspects of the fire officer course, if you don't have a lot of background in there, I would strongly encourage you to find someone that is experienced in law or firefighter or fire department law, or may have had an experience with a lawsuit or some other experiences that would be valuable to your students. Same thing in inspections. Invite somebody from your inspection bureau to come in and speak with them about this stuff. We want you to change it up. We want to try to help improve upon these courses, so it's not just you standing in front of them for 40 hours talking about the same stuff straight out of the book. So try to enhance the course by bringing in guest speakers. State summary forms. We continue to have problems statewide with state summary forms not having signatures on them. Every student on day 1, this is day 1, let me repeat, day 1 of your class, every student should complete the state summary form. Signatures from both you and from the student. The primary signature is on the back of that state summary form, which is a hold harmless waiver, which is required by our office, by our legal office here, from all students going through any of our courses. And you may say, well, there's no practical evolutions that are going to cause any safety issues in fire officer. You may be right, but we still have to require that signature on the back of the hold harmless waiver. This is supposed to be done on day 1. We continue to have students arriving at certification practical exams where we have to have them sign off where they're supposed to sign off. And we also have state summary forms coming back to us, to the practical exams, that don't have your signatures on them as instructors. So we are stressing the very first day, those state summary forms should be completed by the students. They're held on to you until the end of the course, because you are going to have to sign off. There's a box on there that says that their mentoring project was complete. There's a box that says that the online courses, the Y data and the NFFF course have been completed as well. And they've also got a signature box that says that they have completed the ESI course. Now, we previously had some confusion in the past because that course, our past state summary form had a signature line for the instructor for the ESI course. Well, we found out that not all fire officer instructors are teaching the ESI course as well. So we have changed that to the coordinator signature. So it's going to be the responsibility from the coordinator to sign off on them completing the ESI course. Now, and I just want to remind everyone that it does not matter in which order students complete the ESI course or the fire officer course. They don't have to complete the ESI course before they take fire officer. They don't have to complete fire officer before they take ESI. It's a matter of when they become certified. If they take the fire officer course and they have not taken ESI, you're going to be submitting that state summary form back to the coordinator. They're going to hold on to it until until the student does complete the ESI course. At that point, they will sign off on that, and then they will allow them to move through the certification process. Students will not be able to go to the certification exams. Let me take that back. Hold on. The students that complete the fire officer course, I was wrong. I was going on the wrong track. Students that complete the fire officer course can take the written exam and the practical exam before they take the ESI course. Let me repeat that. Students are allowed to complete, if they complete the fire officer course, they can take the written exam and they can take the practical exam, certification exams for officer. They will not receive certification until they complete the ESI course. So when you get done and they have not taken the ESI course, they can take the written and the practical along with everyone else at the same time. In fact, we encourage them to do it as quickly after they complete the course as possible. Then they will have to make sure that they take the ESI course and get that completed within 2 years of the end of the fire officer course. If they wait 2 years and 3 years later they decide to take the ESI course finally, they cannot come back and say, well, I already took the ESI, the fire officer course 3 years ago. Can I get certified as an officer now? No. The requirements are they've got 2 years to complete all the prerequisites and all the courses required in order to become certified. So I would also ask you as instructors to encourage them, if they have not taken the ESI course and they want to become certified, that they do that as quickly as possible. But again, stressing on the state summary forms, we continue to have problems, so I'm asking for your help in making sure that those signatures are on the back, on the waiver, as well as when the course is complete, all the signatures from the student have been completed, and your signatures have completed as well. I want to take a second to talk about exam prep guides. This is a new test bank that we are using for our new exams. Many of you have used in the past yourself for certification exams, as well as have recommended to your students to purchase the exam prep guides that are out there by Ben Hurst and whoever publishes them out there. Those are good training material. That's good training material, but it is not an end-all. It's not a case, and I've heard this before, that, hey, if you just read this exam prep guide, you're going to be able to pass the exam. Well, I'm here to tell you that that's not going to be true. The test banks that we are using are not from the same publisher that publishes that exam prep guide, so they are going to be different questions. The best thing about those exam prep guides is that the students are aware of how the questions are formatted, how they're formatted, and basically how they are asked, how different information is gleaned from the question. So I just wanted to kind of throw that out there. So it is going to be a new test bank. It has been validated and ready to go. So we'll be ready to do that. But you can certainly tell them that the exam prep guides, it can be of value to them. We are not, from this office, recommending that they purchase them. You as an instructor, that's up to you. If they do, that's up to them. But we would prefer that they study the textbook. All right, as practical exam evaluators, many of you will do the dual role. Obviously, if you are an instructor for the course, if you are the lead instructor for fire officer course, you're not supposed to even be on site at the exams. Now, we do make exceptions that if a district is short of personnel, they may use the lead instructor in a non-evaluating role, such as the site coordinator or somebody in staging or that type of thing. But if you are the lead instructor for the course, you will not be evaluating at a practical exam. If you are an evaluator, if you have been an evaluator in the past and you will continue, again, please look at that exam preview so you are aware before you come into the practical exam of the different stations that are going to be the options and what's expected at each of them. When you are an evaluator, you basically are role-playing during the evaluation. When you have a member problem, let's take a member problem. You as an evaluator are saying, hey, Mr. Company Officer, I saw one of your firefighters drunk in a bar and he's wearing a fire department T-shirt, your fire department T-shirt or a fire department uniform. What are you going to do? And that you are then role-playing, so the the candidate will be answering questions. Well, I'm sorry to hear that, and they'll be expected to ask you, well, where did this happen? What time was it? Do you know who it was, etc.? And you are role-playing as that particular complainant. So that's essentially what your role is in some of these evaluations. Not all of them, because not all of them are the same, but that's what you are doing. So, now keep in mind, as an evaluator, our job is to make sure that they understand the JPRs. That's what we're going for. We're not trying to trip them up, all right? We have time limits for each of these exams, and each of the exam time limits is 15 minutes. We don't want any one of those particular exams lasting more than 15 minutes. It shouldn't last more than 5 minutes. 5-7 minutes should be probably the average it would take to go through each of these particular stations, but no more than 15 minutes. I just had a state reps meeting yesterday, and one of the comments that came out was that at the fire officer exams, there are times that the state reps will have to step in to the evaluators because you're taking an awful long time and you're asking more and more questions. Our job as evaluators is to see if they are aware of the JPRs and if they're conforming to those JPRs, the job performance requirements. We're not there to add more stuff and add more stress to them and to try to get them to screw up. That's not our job. Our job is to test them, to make sure that they understand the material that was taught to them and how it all relates to the JPRs. Follow the evaluation checklists and the JPRs. Again, that exam preview has a checklist, so understand what the critical points are, the major points, the general points, as well as the JPRs that are referenced to that particular station. So if you as an evaluator and you as an instructor, and this primarily, not primarily, but this goes to you as an instructor as well, you need to be aware of what the JPRs are in 1021. That's what this course is based off of. That's what all of our courses are based off of, is the NFPA standard. So you need to become familiar with those JPRs, and as long as you're aware of what's expected in the JPRs, you'll be able to teach this course pretty flawlessly. I already went through this once before, but there are 6 stations that are being tested. There's going to be 2 rooms minimum with 2 evaluators in each room. The reason that we have 2 evaluators in each room is because some of this stuff is fairly subjective. If you say, all right, I saw a firefighter in the bar and he was drunk wearing a uniform shirt, and if you feel that the candidate really didn't explain enough, you can consult with the other person to see what they feel as well. If both of you feel that they didn't hit the benchmarks, then that's when you're going to fail them. If you feel after discussing with the other evaluator that they were good to go, then it's a pass. Now, it's very difficult to try to have that conversation. There are ways of kind of getting a confirmation from your co-evaluator as to whether they think that the student is going down the right path and doing well. So whatever you want to arrange between the 2 of you, that's fine. But if you have to have an actual discussion, then I would ask that you ask the candidate to step out for a minute while you do have the discussion and make the determination whether they passed or failed that particular station. So that's how the evaluation process is going to go there. Don't expect candidates to fight fires exactly like your department does. When you get to Station 5, when they start doing the emergency operations, they're given information, they're given resources, they're expected to, and again, the evaluation checklist is there as far as what they're expected to do. They're going to be expected to do a 360. They're going to be expected to give a first-in report, the radio updates to their incoming crews. They're going to have to give assignments to their crews, make determinations whether it's offensive or defensive, those types of things. But you have to keep in mind, if you came from Milwaukee Fire, Madison Fire, Kenosha Fire, Green Bay Fire, a lot of these smaller volunteer departments are not going to have the same resources or the same functionality that you have with the larger career departments. So you cannot evaluate them strictly based on how you do your operations in your department. You have to follow the checklist. Are they following the JPRs? Are they doing it safely? Are they giving the correct information? Are they making some good, solid judgments in a stressful situation? But because they didn't, the third engine in, they didn't put them in the same place that you usually do your third engine, that's not a failure point, all right? So please keep that in mind as an evaluator. Stick to the objectives of the skill test. Again, don't try to trip them up. Don't try to put them in a situation where it puts more pressure on them just to see how they react. Stick to the objectives of the skill test. That's what we're validated on. That's what our accreditation is based on. We're not adding anything to it. Now, what happens to people that are going through the course right now? Anybody that completes the course right now or has completed within the last 2 years that has not taken the certification exam, they have to have the ability to use the old exam, and we will have that option. So, if you're a coordinator, if you're a coordinator that's online right now or listening to this, that's something that the coordinators are going to have to keep track of. If a student comes in with a state summary form and this is something that we should find out before the exam, before students get there, if there are any students that are coming from the old exam, because we're going to have to allow them to use the old exam, both the written exam and the practical exam, based on the course that they were taught in. Because we have some new test stations that weren't really covered in the old course, it's not fair for them to be evaluated using the new course. So it is going to be kind of a little bit of a paperwork and a little bit of a nightmare for us here in our office, as well as the coordinators at the districts. But if you as an instructor know that someone is coming from your old course and they're coming to the new exam, please let someone know, let the coordinator know, so they can make sure that they have that set up. Coordinators, you may have to, arrange for those older students for the old exam. You may have to arrange for them to come in before or after the new exam, however you want to do that, but they're not going to be able to be tested on the new material because they weren't taught the new material. But on the other hand as well, those students that are taking that old course, the old test, they're not going to get that ISAC accreditation because the old course is not validated, it's not accredited, so they will get the basic certification and it will not be accredited. So hopefully that explains that a little bit. And coordinators, I'll be explaining a little bit more to you, but if you have any questions, please let me know. That is coming down to the end here. So, well, it actually is kind of the end. So I do want to open it up for any questions that you may have, either here. So if you make sure that you take your, go off mute, and ask any questions that you have right now. Anybody there?
Pete,
yes.
Pete, this is Tom from Green Bay.
Yes, Tom.
My question: in the new practical exam for fire officer, with the 6 stations, do the candidates have to start with station 1 through 4 first and then move on to 5 and 6?
No.
Or can we start 5 and 6 and then take them to 1 through 4?
No, there is no building upon one or the other. They can start at 5 and 6.
Because I'm just thinking for logistics-wise, if we can start both stations and then just flip-flop each time,
Yep.
that would move the practical exam along quicker.
Yep, exactly. You are able to do that.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. I see that there was a question put to me on the website here. What percentage of the JPRs would be the minimum the state reps would accept? And I'm not quite sure I understand that. The JPRs all are broken down into the different categories, 6 different categories. That's how they're broken down in the standard NFPA 1021. So there are 6 areas. Each area has a certain amount of JPRs, but we will be testing basically 1 JPR in each of those 6 stations. So essentially, they're going to be tested on 6 JPRs. I shouldn't say at a max because Station 5 is actually going to be 2, Part 1 and Part 2. So essentially, they're going to be tested on a minimum of 7 JPRs, or a maximum of 7 JPRs at the exam site. But they need to be responsible and prepared to be knowledgeable about every single one of the JPRs in the standard. Hope that answers your question, Don. Any other questions?
Pete, this is Don Catanacci. I want to follow up on my question.
Yes, go ahead, John.
My question relates to, earlier you were talking about because of perhaps inactivity in the department or other inability to complete all of them as an actual experience, that you wouldn't require all of them to be completed on the mentoring form.
Right.
My question is, what percentage do they need to complete in order to meet the requirements of the mentoring form?
Gotcha. Okay, so you were relating it to the mentoring aspect then. Like I said, you know, we certainly don't want a mentoring project returned to us empty. We would like to see as many as possible, but we are not going to place a minimum. Just because we know the amount of time that's involved. And again, that's going to be kind of up to the instructor here. You know, you're going to know, as an instructor, you're going to know your students and where they're coming from and what the opportunities are going to be. If they have to do tabletops, then that's fine. Sit down and have a discussion with their mentor, you know, about a particular JPR, then I would prefer to do that. But we're not going to have anybody looking there saying that, you know, we hit every one of them, because the JPRs are going to be covered in the class itself as well. So every single JPR is going to be covered in the lesson plans in the class, but the mentoring project is just kind of an opportunity to get some more input from an experienced officer. But we're not going to put a minimum down there. Of course, they're going to have to write on a minimum of 1 in their paper. So I guess I could say that the minimum is going to be 1. We would like to see more, but we recognize that we're not going to see all of them. Anything else? Any other questions? Anybody else not muted? All right. Well, hopefully, I guess I must have done an excellent job, so I'll take it as that. Now, keep in mind, if you know of other instructors that that were not online here, this is being recorded, and it is going to be placed on our website under the instructor resources. The same website that you go to get all the curriculum. There is a document there that's called webinars, train the trainers. All of the train the trainers that we do are recorded and placed on that website. So that will be available tomorrow, probably tomorrow. It'll be available on the website for any other instructors that were not here today that want to go through it and listen to it in that format. So, unless anybody else has any other questions, thank you all for participating, for joining us. And if you've got other questions, then you know, just shoot me an email, give me a call. Be glad to answer them. Thanks for attending, and good luck on this course. So that's all I have for you today. Thank you.
Thank you, Pete.
Welcome. Great job. 2 questions.